Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Paul. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Good evening, Wolves fans. Thanks for joining myself, Little Dan, on tonight's match preview show. I've got with me Stephen from the Fulhamish podcast. How are you doing, Stephen?
Oh, I'm absolutely fantastic. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm all good. Obviously, it's a bit of a sad day for the football community with the passing of legendary commentator John Motson. Obviously, we've all grown up with him on our telly screens, well, predominantly audio on our television screens over the years. Been some great matches that he's commentated on. So obviously, from all of us at the Wolves Fancast, we're wishing our condolences to his friends and family today. Football never dies, does it? It never stops. It's every day of the week. It's what we all live for to a degree. Big game tomorrow.
Very much the voice of football, wasn't he? And I think he's definitely got a legacy that will last forever. Which is great.
Yeah, I think people need to sort of move away from trying to compare him to other commentators and just to appreciate in football. It's the commentator that everyone's for their own little reasons. There's so many good commentators, but just to appreciate John Motson for the legendary commentator he was. And obviously, if anyone wants to pay tribute to him this weekend, I'm sure there's a sheepskin coat company that could serve you well. As I said, Fulham versus Wolves tomorrow night on Sky Sports, kicking off game week 25 in the Premier League. What's out of the Saturday fixtures, Stephen? Obviously, Everton at home to Aston Villa, Southampton. That was a big fixtures for Wolves fans looking at this weekend. But what fixtures for you this weekend stand out for you?
I mean, that Leeds Southampton game is going to be really juicy, isn't it? You know, two teams that probably were obviously not hoping to be in the relegation at this point of the season. I'd like to think that Wolves, I know you guys will be prioritising safety for sure. And I'd like to think, looking at that bottom six or so, I feel I have a confidence in you. I can see a lot of problems with Leeds and Southampton and potentially Bournemouth. They're probably my three to go down. I'd be very concerned if I was supporting either of those teams.
Yeah, the big concern for is just where the goals are coming from. You look at us, you look at our squad over. We've got, in my opinion, a top 10 side, like you said in the previous game, and once behind the back of the net. Manchester United played Newcastle this weekend, so it's a chance for you to sort of gain a bit of an advantage on Newcastle. You could go, but the goal difference is going to let you down a little bit if you were to get the win tomorrow. I made a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment, which is really, it comes back to bite me every week from the Fulham community when we posted on our Fancast page an image of our owner, Jeff Shee, saying we'll let Fulham sign him this summer and we'll get him for cheap when they get relegated next season. I'm sorry for the Wolves fans for that embarrassing moment that I've put on the club. Obviously, Fulham fans, it was more having a pop at our owner for being tight with funds, but obviously there had to be some sort of damaged commodity, and it was Fulham on that day for my tweet. I apologise for the Fulham community because, as I said, you're doing absolutely fantastic this season, but there's there can't be any sort of thoughts about you guys being dragged into relegation now. How far can this Fulham side go?
I mean, tomorrow is very much the battle of the big Portuguese, isn't it? Tomorrow, Marcus Silva's obviously Portuguese and brought in a lot of influences like Painha, for example, who's absolutely beautiful. And we know how many great Portuguese talents Wolves has. How far can this Fulham team go? It's a fantastic question. There's Fulham fans that are still despite being on 38 points, saying, "Oh, we just need to get over the line to safety." And then there's other ones joking about Champions League, which shouldn't even be in the question. But I can tell you one thing: the dream for all Fulham fans would be to get into Europe. It would be a 7th place finish where the cup works out a certain way, where maybe Man United win the League Cup and whatever. And if we finish 7th with a European place, doesn't matter if it's Conference League. We all just want to go to Poland in the cold winter and get really drunk. So that would be the absolute dream. But I think realistically, we've got to aim for top 10. You look at that gap between Fulham and Villa dropping points. There's 10 points there now. And the way we're going, I think we need to start accepting that we should be aiming for a top 10 finish, which as pessimistic Fulham fans is absolutely terrifying. But we're very happy with it.
Yeah, it is tight. It is very congested. I mean, Wolves are only 5 points behind Aston Villa, and that's then the top half begins. You've got Chelsea on 31 points, Fulham on 38, but Chelsea have got a game in hand. Massive win for you last weekend away to Brighton. It was a bit of a smash and grab from what my Fulham friends told me, but just a huge win. Obviously, Brighton are only 3 points behind you with 2 games in hand. Liverpool, Brentford and Chelsea are all going to push you. So finishing top 10 wouldn't be surely disheartening for you, but surely with the momentum that Fulham have got and the way Mark Silva sets you up, you've got to hope that top 7 is an actual genuine chance.
It's madness, like saying that out loud, and it's because you're viewing it from the point of view of a Wolves fan, and so you're probably looking at things quite objectively, and I love it. Whereas as Fulham fans, I think we're all just terrified to say something because we started to get that association with being a yo-yo club, and it was really painful to hear that because I grew up in when I was born in '92, Fulham were in League Two on the brink of relegation to the National League, and since I've grown up, we've gone up and up and up. We had Al Fayed take over, put a lot of funds into the club, and now the Khans have taken over from America, and they've dug deep in their pockets, but they weren't, football savvy. So as a result, the club suffered, and we had the relegation, promotion, and finally the ship has steadied. And I'm hoping we can prove everyone wrong that we're not a yo-yo club. We spent 13 years in the Premier League straight, had the Europa League final, and that's what we want to be associated with. And we just feel so privileged to be in the position we're in right now. Really, really excited. But you're right, Marco Silva is a very ambitious manager, and he's proven he's a real talent. He did it at Watford, did it at Everton in the first season. Had a good season with Hull as well, despite them still getting relegated. His record was very good. So it's also a case of how long we can keep hold of him for, but he seems happy, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Marco Silva's side. Obviously, they recruited well again in the summer. João Palhinha was supposedly a done deal for Wolves. He was looking at houses in the area, and then really sort of Mateus Nunes came available, and Wolves decided to go down that route. How good has João Palhinha been for you? We all know how good he is. We've all seen him play for Portugal because obviously Portugal's Wolverhampton's second team now. We've seen the Portuguese side. We've seen the way they play with Palhinha, Neves, William Carvalho. But how well do you actually rate Palhinha? How big has he been for Fulham this season? Has he been your player of the season so far?
I was going to say, it's absolutely no stretch of the imagination to say that he is the most important player in this Fulham side. Honestly, that sounds bonkers, but he is a machine. He's big, he's powerful, and his work rate is great. He's never afraid to fly into a tackle. He's got 9 yellow cards as a result, so he's going to get a 2-match ban soon, so we're terrified of that. But we have recruited a little backup, so that's good. Sasa Lukic, so looking forward to seeing him. But yeah, no, Palhinha has been probably, I'd say, one of the top 3 transfers of the summer in the whole Premier League. Just gone at 20 million. Yeah, just phenomenal. Very, very, very happy with that one.
I've got the guy in my fantasy team. Bernd Leno is actually statistically the best goalkeeper in Europe in the top 5 leagues, according to WhoScored.com. Absolute bargain buy for you guys in the summer. How important is he for you?
Yeah, I mean, we paid £2 million with add-ons, so a couple of Kit Kats if he keeps a few clean sheets. It's hard to describe because, like, when the Khans first took over, they just threw a load of money at players, and it all went wrong. We got relegated, and we were in a lot of debt. And now they've become shrewder and shrewder, but actually recruited really intelligently. Getting Leno, who was Arsenal's first choice for 3 years until they, changed their style of football for £2 million is just actually outrageous. I still pinch myself. He is just as fantastic as you would expect him to be. He's commanding. He shows his quality, and yeah, absolutely key signing. And I don't know how he got him for that price. It's it's just crazy.
Look at some of those statistics on the screen there. Obviously, Fulham won 1-0 away at Brighton. Theoretically, look at that sort of form, and Wolves are slightly better in form than Fulham. But based on the defeat at home to Bournemouth last week, it is going to be a tough game for Wolves tomorrow. I think if I had the choice, if it was offered, I'd take a draw. I think most football fans would take a draw away from home, especially when you're playing a side who that height, that much further in the league in front of Wolves. But how have you actually played recently? I did see the highlights from the Forest game. Obviously, it looked a comfortable 2-0 win, but I think Leno did make some big saves on the day.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, great to see Wolves getting those 3 wins out of 5. Under the new manager, that's really promising, and it feels like hopefully you're going to propel yourself away from that bottom 3. With Fulham, we had a really tough month where we had Chelsea, Newcastle, Spurs, Chelsea. So I was so happy to take 4 points from those 4 games, especially with Chelsea being obviously our main rivals, and keeping above them is huge. Forest was a fantastic game, played really, really well. They're a great outfit, and they were coming into the game with a ridiculous record, like something like being top of the league for the calendar year or in the top 4 or something outrageous, which didn't make any sense. So they were in a lot of form, and we played a fantastic game against them. And then, as you said earlier, mate, Brighton and Hove, I was there, and it was the definition of a smash and grab. I think Brighton fans are still losing sleep over it. And I actually live in Worthing, which is on the south coast. So I'm just constantly surrounded by Brighton fans looking very angry. I actually do a bit of coverage. I do a thing on away days called Follow Fulham Away. It's all on Fulhamish. And I'll rate like away grounds and things like that. And I did it for Brighton, little 5-minute video if anyone is interested. And it's really funny because right at the end, I'm interviewing my little brother about our ambitions for the season. And there's a Brighton fan just behind us, like just basically swearing. He's so angry. It was the best thing ever. I think, tomorrow it's going to be a tight game. And you know what? I think you're going to be really tough to break down. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a draw. I've got a weird feeling that you might be able to stump us. Having said that, of course, we have to go into this game looking for a win, given our position in the league and the fixtures we've been playing, at home as well. But looking at the reverse fixture, you guys are really strong, and we're still having flashbacks to Micho missing that penalty, though. It's just horrible.
Just touching on that game earlier on in the season, obviously it was under Bruno Lage at the time, quite early on in the season. What sort of difference in the style of players Marco Silva brought since that away fixture? And you just touched on your sort of away days videos. How bad is Molineux in your opinion?
I haven't been to Molineux since I was a wee lad, probably about 8 years old. So I'm due a revisit. Do you know what? When I last went to Molineux, it was when you had the Doritos as a sponsor.
God, yes, comes 20 years.
So I'm 30, so that's about right. But I tell you what, the colour definitely worked. But don't worry, we were probably sponsored by Pizza Hut at the same time. I'm now really hungry talking about this.
Yeah.
I don't recall Molineux being bad. I think one of the worst stadiums I ever went to was actually Goodison Park because of there was absolutely no leg room. Either that or Fratton Park, which they've obviously done up a lot now, but that was just awful. But yeah, definitely overdue another visit to Molineux.
I'm a short guy, hence the name Little Dan, and even Everton is tight for me. The sooner they refurb and move away from Goodison, the better they may go down. Hopefully, I mean, just quickly, who is your preference of who you'd like to go down, not who you think will go down?
Who would I like to go down? Oh, that sounds mean. I mean, obviously, who would I like to go down? I think you can take a wild guess. It would be Brentford, Chelsea, and probably some other nutter. who would I like to go down? I'd like Everton to go down, and I know that sounds bad, but they've just been in the Premier League for so long.
Yeah, that's
And
my reason for Everton. They've never
yeah,
been relegated, have they? Just let someone else taste relegation for once.
exactly. So Everton would be a nice surprise, and I've been there, so
You
that's
can
what
say Wolves if you really want it, because I know I've upset quite a few Fulham fans in the summer.
I like Wolves, to be honest. I've got absolutely no beef with Wolves. Like, it's a good club. Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, Everton go down. Strangely, I would like Forest to go down, which I know sounds bad, but everyone hyped them up so much, and they've made about 50 signings since the start of the season, and I just think it'd be funny for them to throw all that money and then it not to work out. But they're going to be fine. They're going to be absolutely
Yeah, I
fine.
think so. I think their home form will carry them over the line. Obviously, it's Everton, Leeds, and Bournemouth. I think for me.
Maybe Leeds I'd like to see down because they've got quite slightly arrogant fans. They're slightly annoying sometimes. So that would be quite funny.
Let's talk about obviously your game last week. Obviously the 1-0 smash and grab away to Brighton. Based on that lineup that you can see on the left, do you see Marco Silva making any changes? Is there any injuries or suspensions you can tell us about?
Yeah, well, there's one obvious name that's missing from that lineup, which I'm sure you can see, which was Alexander Mitrovic had a foot injury. First half of this season, well, he had a mixed season because he's such a phenomenal player, but he's just been troubled with this weird foot injury that's been going on for a few months. So although he's really key to like linking up the play up top, he's not just about his goals. He's just been a little bit sluggish, and that can be really frustrating as Fulham fans. Like when he's in the zone, he'll be tracking back to the halfway line, making tackles that he shouldn't be making, and just linking the play up everywhere. But when he's just in a slightly sluggish mode, he'll stay up top. You hit the ball to him, the touch isn't quite right, and he's got the abilities, and it's just something not quite clicking. So he may not be back for this Wolves game. What was nice about last weekend was we proved we can win without him. But we had no attacking threat whatsoever until the last 10 minutes when Marco made the two changes with Solomon coming on getting the goal and Vinicius, who's been a fairly good backup, not setting the world alight, but he does that centre forward role well. So I actually can't tell you who's going to be in that lineup. Most of that lineup will be the same, apart from probably who's up top. That's going to be the big question. How are you feeling about Wolves lineup?
Julian Lopetegui in his pre-match press conference today, he pretty much suggested that there weren't going to be many wholesale changes. Boubacar Traore, who joined us permanently in January, he's not likely to be fit. Maybe see Daniel Podence maybe coming in for either Traore or Sarabia. Matheus Cunha will probably still lead the line tomorrow. Obviously, former Fulham midfielder Mario Lemina making his return to Craven Cottage tomorrow. He was a massive miss for us last weekend against Bournemouth in that deep pivot role, which when we've had him in the previous games at home to Liverpool and the away when at Everton, just having Mario Lemina in front of the defence just gives Neves such a better license to rhyme and cause problems. So he'll be a big benefit. What's the sort of Fulham mindset of Mario Lemina? Did he leave the club under a cloud?
Yeah, so no, we really like Mario Lemina. He was brilliant in his time at Fulham. He fell into that Scott Parker era where we call it Parker ball, where he basically tries to do Pep and keep a huge amount of possession, but most of it was just outside the box. It was never clinical, and other teams would just counter attack or hit us hard, and then we were losing so many games. We scored 9 goals at home that season. I mean, of course you're going to get relegated like that, So he was part of that team, but he was really good. I really like Mario Lemina, and when I saw he was going to Wolves, I was really happy for him and you guys. And then saw that red card, and I was just like, oh, so gutted. And I was worried that he might get a funny reception from you guys. So it's really nice to hear that you see him as a crucial part of your team, because I really like him personally.
Yeah, obviously he's only come on for such a small fee from Nice, and he's been massively influential in the 2 wins over Liverpool. Well, the win over Liverpool, obviously he got sent off away against Southampton. João Gomez, who signed from Flamengo, he might be pushing for a start tomorrow night, but I think we'll go back to a midfield 3 of Lemina, Neves, and Nunes. Matheus Nunes didn't have an overly great game at home to Bournemouth last weekend, but I think he's one of those players, if he's fit and the talent that he has to start. Looking at that Wolves lineup, who concerns you?
Oh wow, we still have nightmares over Adama Traore. I remember, I think it was the last time we played you at home. It was probably under Scott Parker, and it was 0-0 until the 89th minute, I want to say, or something silly like that.
Yeah.
And he just burst through and scored, and I just couldn't believe it. And that's when we were really desperate for points, and we'd played a really good game, but it was, we were using the word toothless over and over again, and it was like that again, toothless attack, and you're going to get punished. Scott Parker would always blame it on fine margins, but you got to create your chances.
I might be wrong here, Stephen, but was it Mario Lemina who was in tears at full time after that goal?
Yeah, that's really well remembered because I completely forgot that. He was in tears because he saw his future and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna, these guys are gonna get relegated. I'm gonna end up playing for them because."
Well, that's it. Maybe it was a moment of I'm gonna have to move from West London to Nice in France, and it was just like.
He
Tough
was,
time,
because
Mario.
he wears his heart on his sleeve and the passion was there. And you know what? The attitude from all of the players, Loftus-Cheek aside, who we all hate, the attitude from the players, everyone gave it their all. And that was the saddest thing about that season because we built quite a special bond with a lot of players. But, when you're relegated, some players just, their wages demands are going to be too high to follow the team in Championship. And, they're going to want to stay in the top leagues. That's fair enough. So, maybe that was a moment he realised that all that effort wasn't going to come to fruition. That was a really big game. But any player that wears their heart on their sleeve for me is a winner. They might not be the best in the world, but they're going to give 110% and put their body on the line. Then that's the kind of player I want in my team. So.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of template player just every football fan wants as a minimum, really, don't you? Everyone loves a fancy player that can score bicycle kicks and win your games in the 90th minute, but as a minimum, you just want a player who would run as if you were running in the strip of your club. So we can all appreciate Mario Lemina for that. Thanks to everyone who's joined us so far on the Wolves Fancast match preview with myself and Stephen from the Fulhamish podcast. Stephen, I hate this part of the show, but I always have to do it. What's your score prediction for tomorrow night?
It's between 1-1 or 2-1 to Fulham. It's going to be tight. My gut says 1-1, but I feel like I need to say 2-1 because that's what we've got to aim for, what to push for, and I think we're in good form. And Marco's going to be licking his lips, I think, at the opportunity. So yeah.
Yeah, in an ideal world, a Wolves sort of 1-0, 2-0 would be massively appreciated. But due to the fact that I've got Bernd Leno and Tim Ream in my fancy team, a 0-0 would be accepted from my point of view. I think it's going to be a tight game. Hopefully, the fact that Fulham aren't going to put 10 men behind the ball, 11 men behind the ball like Bournemouth did last weekend, should make the pitch a bit more spacious and allow us to create a few more opportunities. We usually do a little quiz before we end, so it's pretty much you on the spot tonight, Stephen.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, Ed Marshall, just drop a like, lads, for me and Stephen giving up our time this evening. We appreciate you joining us on the Wolves Fancast. Continue to follow us at Wolves Fancast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So what we tend to do to close the show, Stephen, I pick a game from the two sides from previous years, and you have to name players that feature in that game. It's pretty much sudden death usually, but you're on your own tonight. So we'll just see how many you can get in 2 minutes. The actual game, it doesn't really do you any favours as well. It's Fulham 1, Wolves 3 from 2017.
Ooh, 2017.
Play along in the comment section, guys. So, Fulham 1, Wolves 3 from the 2017 season. Paul Lambert was in charge for Wolves.
Was that in the Championship?
Yeah, Championship season. I'll give you one to start off with because he's quite a fan's favourite at Molineux. Kevin McDonald played in your midfield that day.
Yeah, I can see him on the front of the programme there, actually. Shall I do the Fulham players first, or that I think?
Just give me as many as you can in sort of 2 minutes, and then we'll let people in the comments section play along also.
Okay, I'll do my best. So I think you got Marek Rodak in goal for Fulham.
I don't think he actually played in goal that night,
Oh,
Stephen.
really?
I think let me just double check.
You got it in
It's
front of you.
it was West Bromwich Albion's awful goalkeeper, David Button.
Oh, bloody hell, David Button. I mean, I'm forgetting this is 6 years ago. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel like that.
18th of March, 2017. Fulham
Oh,
1, Wolves 3,
that's
Craven
tough.
Cottage. So
Okay,
yeah, David Button was in goal. Let's see if you can name any more from the game that
right,
day.
I'm gonna
Play
fire
along in
some
the
through.
comment section, Ed and everyone else who's joining us.
Okay, we've got Tim Ream at centre back or somewhere in there.
Yeah, Tim Ream was a correct answer.
Have we got a Dennis Adoy in there?
Dennis Adoy was a substitute that came on that day.
Okay, it's half a point.
We'll
Of
allow
course,
it.
Kevin McDonald, Tom Kearney.
Tom Kearney was in midfield with Kevin McDonald. Yes.
Okay. God, my brain's so bad right now. We didn't have Ross McCormack up front, did we?
No, Ross McCormack isn't in that lineup whatsoever.
Hmm.
Dennis Adoy actually scored a minute after coming on that day.
Oh, really? Oh, that's pretty cool. Is Cabano in the team?
Neeskins Cabano was in the starting lineup. Yes.
Brilliant. Floyd Ate?
Floyd is correct. See if you can name any Wolves players from that day, Stephen, and then if you can get 5 out of the Wolves starting up, I will buy you a drink tomorrow of your choice. Champagne is included.
Oh, I wish. My brain's so bad on the spot.
Think of former. I think he's still a Fulham player, former Fulham and Wolves player.
I remember. Oh no, he's not something stupid like Jonathan Greening. Did he play for Wolves then? No, he didn't. Did he?
Wash your mouth.
Sorry.
He played for West Brom, not Wolves.
Mate, this is so bad. I genuinely, I'm having a complete blank. It's awful.
I'm going to give you the one. It's Ivan Cavallero.
Oh, of course, Ivan Cavallero. Oh, yeah. No, he's off on loan somewhere at the moment, or we might have even sold him actually. So, can you give me some hints?
He was our captain for a good 4 or 5 years recently.
Did you have a Dawson in your team?
No, Craig Dawson plays for us now.
Okay. Yeah, see, epic fail. I can't.
Wolves captain, England centre back, England cheerleader for the Wolves fans that don't like him.
Wasn't Cody or something, was it?
Yeah, Connor Cody played that day. You could have had Matt Doherty.
Oh wow, God, yeah.
Helder Costa. So the Wolves goal scorers that day were Ivan Cavallero, Andy Vyman, and David Edwards. Lee Evans was David Edwards' midfield centre partner that day. I think we're going to probably call it quits here.
I apologise to all the Wolves fans. They're probably hanging their head in shame how bad I did there.
You could have also had Stefan Johansson, Ryan Sessegnon, Ryan Fredericks, and Thomas Callas, Stephen, from the rest of the Fulham side. Wolves players that I haven't mentioned so far: Carl Akimi, Courtney House, Ben Marshall, Nua Dicko, Romain Sayis, and George Saville. Thanks for joining myself and Stephen from the Fulhamish podcast. Where can they find yourselves, Stephen?
Yeah, you just, for Fulhamish, just search for Fulhamish on any social media. And I've got my own channel that's called Let's Talk About. But yeah, I do most of my content on Fulhamish. So the follow Fulham away stuff's all on there if you want to check out the away days and things like that. But yeah, we do all sorts. So yeah, check it out.
Hopefully, you'll see me from the away end celebrating tomorrow, if not in a pub before or after the match. I will be landing in London Euston at 1 p.m. tomorrow. So for an 8 o'clock kickoff, I'm expecting to be very blurry-eyed. Thanks for joining myself and Stephen on tonight's Wolves Fancast match preview. Long-time acquaintances of the Wolves Fancast, Black Bear Kiss, have got their latest single, Begin Again, out tomorrow. Go and check that out. They're going to be closing the show out now. Have a good weekend. We'll be back on Sunday with hopefully an enjoyable Wolves podcast. Take care, everyone.